Hello stringers, this is Voodoo Stick Mod, Kel, and we are going to make a Scooby Snack zip bag today. We haven't done a bag in a while, so this one will be fun. It's also a little bit different because the zipper is on a bit of an angle on this one. It's not so much of an angle that it's going to cause weird cuts with your vinyl or anything like that. We could still use a big rectangle. It's just going to lay on there a little bit differently on the hoop once we get going. So I'm going to grab a pen and we're going to go over our PDF, okay? So our first step is going to be our overall placement, okay? That's going to give us all our die lines for the outside so we can see just how much we have to fill. Then our next one is going to be the zipper tack down. Okay, that's going to tack down our zipper around our zipper box. The next one is going to be our, it's going to tack down our vinyl or our fabric, whatever we're using, okay? So these three colors, the first one is going to tell you the color of the base vinyl or fabric that you should pick. The next one is just a random color to tack down that zipper. The third one is a random color because we need to force stops on a single needle. So this one, I'm not going to use the color it says. I'm going to use the color of whatever fabric or vinyl I pick, okay? Then we have a bunch of placement lines for our appliques because a lot of pieces are going to be applique on this bag, okay? Then we're going to go through a bunch of things where there's going to be some wacky colors because these are all going to be our tack down for our various appliques, okay? So these four in the middle here are going to be tacking down all the different appliques. Then we have our satins for our appliques and details. So like the details up at the top of the bag. Then we have our detail of our Scooby Snacks words. Then we get into a bunch of stuff here. This is all construction stuff here. And by construction, I mean tacking down your, or stitching down your backing fabric for your lining, closing up your zipper box, because when you do your initial tack down of the front vinyl, it's going to leave an opening so we can slide our zipper in, and then adding the vinyl that'll be the back of the bag and our fabric that'll be the back side of the lining inside the bag. And then so that's going to be these here and this one up top. This is going to be construction 2. And then this one is a stop we don't stitch. So I'm actually going to grab a different color. Do not stitch. Okay, this is our last color stop, is a do not stitch stop. That is a stop that Ricky adds in to force single needle machines to move to the side of the bag, because machines tend to center when a design is done, and on a single needle oftentimes your foot is not high enough in order for centering to happen without it catching on something. So she adds that in so to make your machine move off to the side of the hoop. Then you can pull the hoop off and then you're done. Multi-needles, the foot sits up so high, this isn't an issue, but she adds this for single needle users so it doesn't tear up everything you've just finished doing. So now that we've looked at our PDF, which comes with every design you buy, you get a color stop PDF. We're going to look at the different things we're going to need to make this bag. Okay, so we're going to need, I'm doing this one in vinyl, so I'm going to need a piece of vinyl for below the zipper and above the zipper. I'm going to need a piece of vinyl for the back of the bag. Okay, I'm going to need pieces of fabric, because this is a fully lined bag, for the below the zipper, above the zipper, and the back. Okay. Now, the difference with the fabric is I have folded them under a 1/2 inch on 2 of the shorter edges well, one short edge on the top, one short edge on the bottom, so that I have a nice non-raw edge to put up against the zipper behind the, the inside of the bag. So if you wanted to do your bag in all fabric, you would use the lining measurements and iron them like this, and then just do what it tells you for the vinyl, okay? The measurements given in the PDF for what sizes to cut things, for the outside, the exterior, it's gonna be vinyl measurements, the inside's gonna be lining. If you wanna do an exterior that's in fabric, just use the same measurements as the lining pieces for your exterior fabric. I'm also going to need a zipper that is at least 2 inches wider than the opening of the bag. I buy all of mine in bulk, extra long, so it'll work in any size bag because I can always cut this down. Okay, I'm going to need some vinyl for my appliques, which I have not cut down. I'll just cut as I go to see what size I'm going to need. Your PDF will have measurements for you, but I'm kind of going with the flow this morning, so I'll cut mine as I go to get the measurements that you're going to get in your PDF. Because you will get an instructional of everything I'm saying as a PDF in case you aren't a video lover or you don't learn well with videos. You learn better by reading. We're going to need some ribbon. We call this Ribby ribbon in stores. It's generally called grosgrain ribbon. I have pieces that are 1 inch wide by 2 inches long. I have 2 of those, and I have 1 inch wide. Mine are only 2.5, but 2.5 to 3 inches long. My ribbon isn't exactly 1 inch wide. It's 7/8, but it's close enough, so it'll work. So this is going to be for our hardware, which I have to go and get. So let me grab that. We're going to need some hardware for this thing. I am going to be using D-rings to place at the top of my bag to hold it. You can use lobster claws if you would like. You have placements for top attach and for side. You can choose to do just 1 off the side, 2 off the top, or all 3. I'm just going to be doing the 2 off the top. That's what I prefer. But again, you can do 2 off the top, 1 off the side, or all 3. Your choice. Okay, so whatever hardware you want, lobster claws or D-rings for those. That's all the materials we're going to need. I'm also going to have a rotary cutter standing by. I have a tape measure. I have tweezers and snips. I have scissors for cutting appliques. I prefer a double curved scissors, but you could also use a duckbill. Totally your choice. I'm also going to need a pen. I'll show you what that's for in a bit. And I'm going to need tape. I have a really big tape dispenser for my tape, but you're going to need some tape. Painter's tape works great. I prefer the brand with a specific waterfowl on it. I think that is it. So besides all of that, what is the one thing we're going to need? That's right. We're going to need some medium weight cutaway, medium to heavy. This is a 3-ounce cutaway that I use, and I have hooped it in my hoop. So now I'm going to put this on my machine, and I'm going to run color stop 1. I have run color stop 1, and I am back. As you can see, color stop 1 gives us our outline for our entire bag, as well as a zipper placement area with a specific line down the middle. That's something we're gonna wanna take note of, definitely for later if you don't do what I'm doing right now. I'm gonna flip my hoop over because this is gonna help me later when I have to place my lining. So I'm gonna find that center box in the zipper placement area, and I'm going to use my ruler and a pen, this is why you need a pen, to just extend those lines out, because I am going to actually have to cut this area away eventually so that our zipper is available to be a working zipper. So I want to put this mark, so then that way I know where to place my lining fabric later when this part is missing. You can do this, or you can just eyeball it. Totally up to you. So now I'm going to flip this back over to the front. I'm going to grab my zipper, and I'm going to want to place this down right in between the zipper placement lines. Now this zipper obviously is way long, so I'm just going to trim it down now because I don't need all that excess hanging off the end over there, okay? Actually, I can, yeah, that looks good. Okay, so now I'm gonna take a little more off because I don't really need that much. Okay, I'm going to grab my lighter, which also comes in handy, and I'm just gonna singe the end of that so it doesn't fray on me. Now I'm gonna place this where I need it to go in the center of my zipper box there, and I'm gonna tape it down. Now most tape just the ends. I like to tape the middle too, just so that it doesn't shimmy on me. Sometimes zippers are a little squirrely. Okay, so I've taped it down, and I'm going to run color stop 2 to tack this down. Okay. This, I will also add, this zipper box is made for a number 3 zipper. If you're using a number 5 zipper, you can, but your zipper tape's probably going to be wider than these lines. So you're going to want to run the teeth right in the middle of that extra little box in the center here, okay? Number 3s are easier to place because you have outside lines, but you can use a 5 if you want. So I'm going to run color stop 2, and then I'll be back to show you what to do next. Okay, I have now tacked down my zipper so I can remove this piece of tape. I don't need it at all. Now I'm going to find my 2-inch long pieces of ribbon. Okay, I'm going to fold them in half, and I'm just going to singe the ends again so that they don't fray on me when I'm pulling off tape and stuff later. Now I'm just going to peel up this tape here, and I'm going to lay my zipper or my ribbon right so it's centered in the zipper, because mine is a little bit narrow compared to the zipper. If you're using true 1-inch ribbon, it should cover the whole zipper tape. And I'm looking where the side of the bag is going to be, and I'm sticking my ribbon so the folded edge is inside, the raw edge is to the outside, and it's about the side of the bag is like bisecting the ribbon. So there's about half of the ribbon inside, half of the ribbon outside. Okay, and I'm going to do the same thing over here. Okay, and because of the shape of the bag, you're only going to have the one side here. What are these things? These are zipper stops, okay? These are going to keep our zipper from zipping too far and coming out of the bag in case something were to happen to the seams. Okay, so I'm going to tape these down, and then I'm going to get my exterior vinyl or fabric because I want to tape that down too. And I want to take this piece and make sure that outside of the side of the bag lines, I want to make sure those are covered. Okay, and then I'm going to tape down the vinyl. And I'm going to run the edge of the vinyl, or if you're using fabric, I'll just grab my lining for a minute. If you're going to use fabric, you're going to want to put the folded edge right up against the teeth, okay? But since I'm using vinyl, I'm just going to put a nice clean edge, making sure I have my vinyl the correct dimension, orientation. Okay, and I'm going to do the same thing with the bottom or below the zipper vinyl. I'm going to line it up so that the edge is right up against the zipper teeth, and I'm going to tape that down, and then I'm going to put a piece of tape on each corner because my vinyl's a little curly. I just want to make sure I'm well centered here. Yeah, that looks good. Okay. All right. Now, because the zipper's on an angle, this is where you have to make sure your side placement is really good, because I'll just fold this up and show you. Because one side of your vinyl is going to be closer to the side than the other because it's tilted, okay? But as long as everything is covered by a good 1/4 of an inch, you should be good there. Just checking to make sure that that looks good there. Okay, so that looks good. So everything is taped down nicely. Now I'm going to put this on the machine, and I'm going to run color stop 3 and 4. 3 is going to tack down our vinyl, and then 4 is going to give us all the placement lines for all of our appliques. Okay, so run 3 and 4, and then we'll come back and I'll show you how to start doing appliques. I have now run color stops 3 and 4. 3, I'll pull this up, has stitched down our vinyl. Now it did leave an opening here. This is okay. It should leave this unstitched. Then I have, it's hard to see, but I have all of our applique die lines on here. Okay, there's the big star, the corner, and the 2 little rectangles over here. Okay, so the first applique is going to be the center burst. So I'm just going to make sure that everything is covered here. And then I'm just going to take some tape to stick these down. Okay. And then I'm going to put this on the machine, and I am going to run color stop. Let's see here, 4 is placement. 5, color stop 5, and that's going to give me the tack down for this piece here. Then we'll come back and we're going to make our way around. We're going to do this applique, trim it, we'll place for this applique, put it in, run something, trim it, and then we'll continue for the other 2. So we're starting with the starburst, and then we're making our way around the outside. Okay, the first applique has been tacked down, so I'm going to take the tape pieces off of those corners. I'm going to add that one there because that is not staying down for me. It's a little humid here today, which is weird considering it's also cold. Well, cold for Tennessee anyway. Okay, so that's all tacked down. Now I'm going to use my applique scissors to trim around this. I want to get as close as I can to the stitches, but I don't want to cut into the stitches. So I'm just going to guide my scissors right around that. Now I'm like twisting my wrist around here. I don't recommend you do that. I recommend you move your hoop. And if you don't get close enough the first pass, you can always go back and trim a little more. Okay. So I'm going to go all the way around here. done. So all the appliques are done. And as you can see, they're not all tacked in the same color because that part doesn't matter. You can use whatever color you want to do that. So you can use whatever's left on your machine. Doesn't matter. The color steps that matter as far as the color of the thread is the vinyl tack down and then the 2 steps we're going to do next. Okay, so the pretty part is all done. Now our next steps are going to be to start adding the lining pieces. Okay, so the first thing that we need to do is we need to peel up some of these tapes over here because I want to move the zipper out of the way. Okay, so I can, this is temporary. I'm gonna zip this for now so that I can grab a seam ripper or, you know, other utensil other tool. And I'm gonna go in between the zipper teeth here to just put a slice in the stabilizer behind it, okay? Now I'm gonna flip this over and there's a cut here. And now I need to cut this area out where the zipper is. Okay, so I'm just going to go here and you want to cut outside of that little zipper box, but you don't want to cut past this line where the tack down is for your vinyl. Okay, so it's going to be, you know, you just don't want to cut like this satin area here. You don't want to snip into those at all. Okay, keep cutting till the end of the box there. This side here. I'm gonna cut that out. I will finish this up. Okay, so now that's cut out. Now see, that's why I put those lines there. That way I'll know where to line up my fabric in a bit. Okay, so now I want to close this back up because we don't want this like hanging out open like this when we're stitching the rest. So I'm just going to put this, zip that up, put this all back, and then I'm going to find my tape, and then I'm going to tape the vinyls back down, okay? All right, so that's all taped. Now, that's all taped back closed. Now I'm going to flip this over, and we're going to put on the piece of lining that'll cover this part of the bag, okay? So I don't like calling it top and bottom. It can be kind of confusing depending on what orientation your bag is and stuff. So I'm just going to call it below the zipper and above the zipper. So I'm putting on the piece of fabric that'll cover the stitching below the zipper. Okay, and again, I just want to make sure that I'm covering all the die lines with this. Okay, and that I'm lined up here with my marks that I made. And then I'm going to tape that down. Okay. Tape that down. This one doesn't look like I actually put the tape on very straight, so I'm going to change the hoop orientation here so I can get it better. Okay, tape that down. And then I'm just going to tape the bottom down as well, the bottom edge. Okay, now I'm going to flip this over, and I'm just going to push like this. It helps keep the tape, make the tape stick really well. Okay, now I'm going to put this on the machine, and I'm going to run color stop 11. Color stop 11 has been run, and you can't see it from the front because it literally just stitched right over that line. I'm going to flip it over to the back. Oh, looks like some schmutz from the machine ended up in there. And then I like to like kind of clean up as I go here. Any thread tails. So I'm just gonna kind of clean this up here. Okay, all right, now I need to place the above the zipper lining. All right, so I'm gonna take this, and this is gonna go on, lined up on this line. Again, making sure I'm covering up everything, all the exposed die lines. Okay. I'm gonna tape this down. Okay, all right, and then I'm gonna do the thing again where I kind of flip to the front and kind of smoosh on it. Okay, now I'm gonna put this back on the machine and I will run color stop 12. Color stop 12 has now been run and it is stitched along here. Again, you can't see it from the front, and it left this part here yet. Okay, I'm just gonna clean up any thread tails on the back. It also gives me a chance when I do this to make sure that my placement of the fabric was good and it's not, you know, hanging off or didn't catch or... Okay, so now that looks good. All the thread tails are snipped. So now I'm going to undo the tape again on the front here. And I'm going to move the ribbon out of the way and I'm going to open the zipper. Now I want the zipper to stay open, okay? So I'm going to push that back down. I'm going to push this down. Now I'm going to put this back on the machine. I'm going to run color stop 13, which is going to finish this, and then it's going to give me placement lines for my hardware. Color stop 13 has been stitched. I have a few thread tails here on the front, so I'm just going to take care of those. I'm going to flip this over, take care of all this schmutz on the back. Okay. And then once this is done, we'll place our hardware. Okay. Oh, I must have cut my fabric here a little bit trickier, or a little bit short, so okay, so that's all cleaned up back there. All right, now I have to do hardware. Okay, so I need the 2 longer pieces of ribbon, and I need my hardware. I need my D-rings. Okay, so I'm gonna feed this through, and then I like to singe the edges now. Okay, now I'm gonna move that a little bit so that my hardware is in the way, and I'm gonna put this on here, covering up my die line. I need to make sure that I'm far enough away that I don't catch the hardware. Okay, so you'll know what works for your machine there. Now I need to grab my other one here, and I'm gonna do this, kind of see how it's lined up with the stitching over there so I can make sure they're pretty much even, and then I can reuse some of this tape. Now I'm not putting one here, but if you wanted to, you could put hardware here too. Tape it the same way. I'm gonna put this on the machine. I'm going to run color stop 14, which is gonna tack the hardware down. All our hardware is now tacked down, so I can take off the outer tape here from all of this area. All of this stuff. Because we're gonna put on the, what will be the back of the bag on the exterior. All right, get all the tapes out. Okay, so those are tacked down. I'm still gonna leave this here to hold these in place so they don't jiggle around while it's stitching the rest. I'm gonna take my backing vinyl, I'm gonna lay it so it covers everything. And then I'm going to tape my corners down. Okay. And now I'm going to run color stop 15. And then we'll come back. So the exterior of the bag is now attached. So we're going to flip this over. I'm going to clean up any thread tails on the back side here. Get any stray stuff out of here. Okay. And now I'm going to put the backing, the lining in here. Okay. I'm going to cover everything there, and I'm going to tape that down. Okay. Do my little squishy squish there. Okay, now this goes back on the machine, and I run color stop 16. Only 16. Okay, I am back. Finish this part up. I'm just going to take the tape off of here because I don't need this anymore. All right. I'll flip it over. Clean up any thread tails on the back here. And take off the tape on the back because we don't need that either. And then just getting some of the loose threads and stuff off. Okay, now I'm going to pop this out of the hoop because we are done with that part. Okay, now we need to trim things up. I am going to start by doing the back or the bottom and the sides here. So take that. Don't need that. Okay, get rid of all that. Let's see this side. Getting rid of all that there. Just gonna get rid of the excess stabilizer on the top. Oh, doesn't look like that went through there. Okay. And I'm gonna, oops, trim that down there. Okay. Now we get to the top part. Now I like to do this part here. So first things first, I need to grab my scissors and I need to, there's an opening here. I'm just gonna snip from the edge of the fabric up to, but not into the threads, stitching that opening, okay? Now, I didn't leave a whole lot here. I'll adjust that next time I make one of these. But now I wanna keep this stuff out. And because my thread or my fabric is so small, I'm gonna have to do it this way. I'm gonna tape that out of the way so when I trim this stuff, it doesn't cut those off. That's our tab that we're gonna fold in to close up the lining in the bag, so I don't want it to cut that. So I do my outsides a little bit different. I pull this vinyl back because I don't want to cut the ribbon. So I pull that and the ribbon back out of the way. And then I trim. I freehand this part here. I trim like this so that I leave the ribbon long. It tends to, I've gotten feedback from my customers that they prefer that just because they've noticed that I've had a lot less where the ribbon pulls out if I leave these long. So then I flip it over to the other side. I pull the ribbons out of the way again, and then I trim down that vinyl there. Now, you don't have to do that. You can just tape this out of the way and trim it like I did the other three sides. But like I said, I found the ribbons don't fray and pull out as easily if I leave them long on the inside of the bag. Now I'm gonna leave this because of the ribbon here. It's a tricky spot to get, so I'm gonna do that part with scissors. So, but I want to also kind of round off all of these corners, okay, because that's gonna help when we turn the bag out. It's gonna help those corners not be so bulky. So up here, I wanna come in and I'm gonna kind of round that off, and then I'm gonna come up like this, okay, holding the ribbon out of the way, and then I can just kind of fold the ribbon out of the way if I need to kind of just knock down these corners a little bit too with a little bit of rounding. All right, now I'm gonna disappear off camera for a little bit because I want to heat this up, because this is a tiny opening up here, okay? That's a whole lot of bag to get through that hole. So I'm going to heat up my vinyl. You can do this with an iron. You can do it with a hairdryer. If you do it with an iron, don't worry, you're not going to hurt the vinyl, as long as you don't like let it sit there for a long time. You know, but a little bit of press and steam, it's not going to hurt it. Okay, so I'm going to go heat this up, and then I'll come back and we'll turn it out. Okay, I've heated it up, and now I'm going to carefully start turning the bag. And I say carefully because you don't want to, try not to rip that stuff at the top. So it's a lot of squishing and coaxing and stuff like that, okay? Oh, yep, mine is tearing. So just be more careful than I am. Mine is tearing because I didn't do such a good job of making sure that inside piece was as cut appropriately. Let's put it that way. I didn't cut it to the appropriate size. All right. Now, if you're doing this bag and it's not vinyl, turning it is going to be a lot easier, and the odds of you tearing that are not as high. So now I need to actually, like, I need to turn this stuff in, the flaps here, okay? Now you can sew this shut, okay? Or you can use fabric glue to glue this shut. Okay, this is kind of, like I said, this one's trickier for me because I kind of tore everything. So I need to kind of fix that as I go, okay? Kind of folding stuff in. And so I'm going to grab my glue, because usually I just glue these shut. I used to sew them, but glue is faster. So, okay. So because I tore it, I'm going to have to be really careful, like how I glue this. Making sure that it is truly closed. So I'm just putting glue on there. And then I'm just kind of folding this down, lining it up. Like that. Okay, I'm gonna pull that there. That doesn't look too bad. Okay, tuck that under. All right, so that's glued shut. Now obviously this isn't useful at all, being that it's not right side out. So that's what I'm gonna do next. I'm gonna reach in, and there's still some tape holding my hardware down. So I'm gonna reach in and take that off. And then now I just need to turn the whole bag, which is easier because the whole zipper is open now for me to do that part. But if it seems tough, you can give it another blast with the hairdryer or iron to just warm things up again. Okay. Just kind of pull this out. Then I'm going to turn my corner up here. I just kind of use my finger for right now to kind of push that out. This corner is a little bit different because of, it's not a straight 90-degree corner. Oh, look, there's a thread tail there. Let's trim that. Okay. And then I gotta push out the bottom here. And that's the same thing with this corner. That is not a 90-degree corner. That's an angle. So when you're pushing stuff out, just be careful. I have chopsticks that I use. I buy in bulk just to kind of use as a pokey outy stick. Okay, make sure that get that nice and pushed out. Okay. Oh, I see a thread here too. I can cut that off. So there's some cleanup there. And then I'm going to zip this closed. And as you can see, vinyl doesn't like to wrap around so easily. So you can roll your seams All right, roll your seams out. And then to keep everything nice and flat over time, what you can do is you can place this under a stack of really heavy books for a day, and then that'll help train the vinyl to lay the way you want it to lay. So I'm going to go do that. The last step that you could do for this is in your PDF. You'll have another PDF, and in your zip file, you'll have a file. Oh, I got some tape schmutz on there. I'll have to get off. That will have a dangle that you can add to this bag. Okay? But this is all there is to it. If you have any questions, feel free to ask in the group. Your zip file will come with the dangle file, the bag, and the color stop PDFs for both of those.